Good day, everyone. So today we'll be diving into an interesting topic called gears. In this topic, we'll be looking at the definition of gears, type of gear that we have, and also how these gears can be lubricated, as well as the applications of gears. And I'm sure you're going to learn something at the end of this. Let's dive into this. So first of all, let's talk about the definition of a gear. What is a gear? A gear, or some pronounce gear. A gear is a wheel with teeth around its rim that merge with another wheel's teeth to transmit motion. So that's just a simple definition of a gear. A wheel with the teeth around its rim. So this is an example of what a gear is. So it's a wheel, as you could see, with teeth. These are teeth. This here thing here are teeth around its rim that merge with another here like it. Look at it here. Okay, so you make another wheel, and then with this they transmit motion. Okay, that's just what gear does. So the importance of gear is to transmit motion. All right, and this gear that we are talking about, this is how they operate. Okay, there are actually two in a gear. There are two wheels in a gear. We have the driver gear and we have the driven gear. Okay, the driver gear is the one that provides the power. As you can see here, is the one that provides the power to move the driven gear. The driven gear only receives the motion. All right, it does not produce energy, but the driver gear is the one that produces the power or the energy to drive the driven gear. So this is how it works. As the driver gear is moving and as the teeth are merging with each other, it moves the driven gear. Okay, and motion or power or energy is being transmitted. Now we have different types of gear. We have the sport gear, we have the warm gear, we have the bevel gear, we have the rack and pinion gear, and lastly we have the helical gear. And these are the typical diagram of this type of gear. This is sport gear. You see, for every gear there will only be two wheels, the driver gear and the driven gear. Now, what does the sport gear do? It transmits energy as well, just like every other gear. But in this case, between two parallel shafts. Now, the two wheels will be parallel to each other. Okay, so whenever you have two wheels parallel to each other and they have straight-sided teeth, then you know that that gear is called sport gear. Whereby the two wheels are, which we call the shaft now, are parallel to themselves, and their teeth are straight-sided to each other, then that is called a sport gear. Then we go next to the bevel gear. What the bevel gear does is to transmit power to between shafts, but in this case in an angular form. So look at the bevel gear here. Consider the two wheels are in an angular position. So whenever you see two gears in an angular position, unlike the ones that are parallel, like the sport gear, then you know that it's called a bevel gear. The two wheels or the two shafts are in an angular position to transmit power. Okay, and their teeth, the teeth of the gear are in the form of cone. So they have conical teeth. While the teeth of the sport gear are straight-sided. So you can spot the difference between them right now. We also have another one called the warm gear. The warm gear operates silently and smoothly. And what it does is to reduce speed and increase torque. Torque is just a form of it's a form of increasing speed also of a mechanical machine. Okay. Now, when you have warm, when you have warm gear, the machine, it speed up the machine, and it reduce the speed of the machine, but will increase the torque. Torque is the product of force and the distance. And when there is increment in torque, the machine works better. An example of the warm gear you could say is the connection of a normal gear with something with a linear gear around it, okay, that look like a worm. Okay, so at this is attached to a machine. It reduces the speed of the machine but increases the torque of the machine. That is, it will increase the rotational force, okay, of that machine. Because this with rotational force. Okay, when you apply force in a rotational manner, a particular distance, it help in increasing it because of the way it's rotated. You could say that is the work of this worm gear. We also have the rack and the pinion gear. What this one does is to convert rotary motion of the pinion to linear motion. And this is a sample of it here. So it converts the rotary motion the of the of one of the gear to linear motion. So in its own makeup, one of the gear is the normal gear, like in form of a wheel, but the second one is in form of a rack. Okay, a straight rack we see. So in here now, the pinion, which is the circular part, is the motion is being converted to linear by the rack that is moving this way, left, right. Alright? So that's what we refer to as the rack and the pinion gear. So it's to convert rotary motion to linear motion. Alright? And the last but not the least here we have is called the helical gear. The helical gear transmit motion also, like we have been saying. But in this case, it performs two work. It's either it transmit motion between two parallel wheels or wheels that are at right angle to each other. When you see gears that are right angle to each other, leave the sample of it, you will know that it is helical gear. This gear can also be parallel to each other too. But know that the teeth of each of the wheels are in an angular direction. Okay, so helical gear has its shaft to be parallel and might also be at angle to each other. So these are the 5 types of gear that we have, and the most common one that is used is called the spur gear, okay, in transmitting power from one point to the other. Right? So I will say that there was need for us to lubricate gear. Lubrication simply means applying oil or grease to reduce friction. At the teeth of the gear merge with each other, there is likelihood that it might want to stop one from moving. And when it stops moving, then the purpose is defeated. So to avoid the sudden stop or breakdown of gear, they need to apply oil, which we refer to as lubrication. So you lubricate the teeth of the oil, as you can see here. You apply the oil at the teeth. This will reduce the friction and it will promote sliding between the teeth. Oil is slippery. So by the time you apply the lubrication oil there or grease, it will promote the sliding of the teeth between each other and will lower the coefficient of friction. Okay, and also limit temperature rise from rolling and sliding friction. Because it is when there is friction that you will have temperature rise. But if you apply lubrication or lubricant rather, the substance from lubrication is called lubricant. By the time you apply lubricant to this thing, is going to reduce temperature rise because there is no friction. Where there is friction, that's where you can have temperature rise. So every gear, irrespective of the type, must be lubricated to avoid it from stopping or shutting down. Okay? So, what are the common lubrication methods that we have? There are majorly three. You have the grease lubrication. This type of method is good when you want low speed of the gear. And sometimes we use for maintenance even at higher speed. So if you want low speed, you use grease lubrication method. Sometimes if you want high speed too, you can also use grease lubrication method. Another type of lubrication method we have is called the splash lubrication method. Is this one make use of oil bath method. Okay, you put you put the gear into oil, and you with that you reduce the friction. But it's suitable for medium speed. If you want your gear to be moving with medium speed, you use the oil bath method by putting the gear into the oil into the bath containing oil. And the one good thing about splash lubrication method is that it's simple and it's also reliable. Now the third method of lubrication is called the forced oil circulation. This method is used when you prefer higher speed. You want higher speed, unlike medium speed or low speed. You want higher speed of the gears. You want them to be at higher speed. Then you apply what we call the forced oil circulation lubrication method. And it's effective for film maintenance and for cooling. That's where it is effective. You want to maintain film, okay, make use of this forced oil circulation lubrication method. In summary, the choice of this method is dependent on the digestion speed and rotating speed. Okay? However, no single best method or lubricant. Any of them is good. Any of the method is good to lubricate, to use as lubrication. So there is no one that is the best among them, depending on the purpose for which you are using the gear for, whether to increase speed, whether to reduce speed and increase torque, whatever the purpose may be, then with that will determine the type of lubrication method to be applied. All right. So I will say that, can we now look at the use of gears? From beginning, we have already said that gears are made to transmit power. So it's made for transmission of power from one shaft to another. The driver gear transmits the power to the driven gear, which invariably transmits it to whatever purpose it is being used for, whether it is for lifting, whether it is for blending, whatever purpose it is being used for in the industry or in our home appliances. Another purpose of gear is to change speed. Gear is used for changing of speed. Okay? So when you see gear operating, it's either it is increasing speed or it is decreasing speed, okay, of transmission of power. And lastly, gears are used for changing direction of motion. Okay, so when you have gear in a system, the mechanical system can be used. It may be that it is used to be changing the direction of motion, whether from left to right or from right to the left, alternatively. So in the case where you are seeing change of motion from one direction to the other, left from left, and it go back to the right, just know that gear is in play there. All right. So, in summary, we are able to say that gears are toothed wheels that transmit motion, and that we have different type of them. We have the spur, the bevel, the rack and pinion, the helical, and the worm gear. And we say that for proper use, we need to lubricate them either with grease or with splash or with forced oil. This lubrication will help us to reduce the friction and temperature, which will uh, help in the effectiveness of the gears. So we are able to see also that gears are useful for transmission of power, for change of speed, and also for direction control across countless machines. So on this note, I would like to draw my curtain here. I hope you have been able to learn something about gear today. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye for now.